It started on a peaceful Saturday morning, with the sun glinting off the calm lake water and Jake fixing the ropes on his small wooden dock. This was his quiet escape, his slice of heaven after years of hard work. But peace didn't last long. "Excuse me." A sharp voice cut through the air. Jake turned to see her, Karen. Perfectly styled hair, clipboard in hand, wearing an HOA badge like it was a royal emblem. "You're not allowed to use this dock," she said, crossing her arms. Jake frowned. "Karen, this dock is on my property. You have no say here." Her lips curled. "That's where you're wrong. The HOA has new rules. And as president, I'm enforcing them." Jake chuckled softly. But his patience wore thin. He had dealt with her before, always power-hungry, always trying to control what wasn't hers. Little did she know, this time, she'd crossed a line that would turn the entire neighborhood upside down. Karen had no idea Jake wasn't just a calm lakeside homeowner, he was a man who knew how to fight quietly, legally, and decisively. And before that weekend ended, the HOA's queen would lose her crown. And her boat. By Monday morning, Karen wasn't done. Jake found an envelope taped to his front door, stamped HOA violation notice. The paper accused him of unauthorized dock expansion and threatened a $1,000 fine. Jake sighed. He hadn't touched that dock since he bought the house 2 years ago. But Karen had found a new toy, her power. When he went to the HOA office to clear things up, Karen was waiting, smiling smugly. "We don't make exceptions," she said, tapping her pen. "Either pay the fine or remove your dock." Jake leaned forward. "Karen, you've made a mistake." She smirked. "No, Jake. You made one when you thought you could defy me." Her arrogance made his next move easy. That night, Jake opened his land records and smiled when he saw it, clear as day. The property line extended 5 feet past where his dock ended. Karen had been standing on his land the entire time, but instead of confronting her, Jake decided to play the long game. Because if Karen wanted to fight, she was about to pick a war she couldn't win. The next evening, Jake attended the HOA's monthly meeting, something he usually avoided. Karen sat at the head of the table like a queen addressing her subjects. Next on the agenda, she announced, unauthorized structures along the lakefront. Jake raised his hand. "You mean my dock?" Karen smiled sweetly. "Among others. It violates our lake access guidelines." He placed a folder on the table. "Funny thing, Karen, the county assessor doesn't agree. My survey says the dock is entirely on private land." "Mine." The room went silent. Karen's face stiffened. "That can't be right." Jake slid the document closer. "It's signed by the county engineer. You can verify it." Karen's fingers tightened around her pen. For the first time, her confidence cracked. But she quickly forced a laugh. "Even if that's true, HOA rules still apply." Jake smiled. "Not when the HOA doesn't own the property." The neighbors whispered, a few exchanging smirks. Karen adjourned the meeting early, humiliated, but plotting her next move. Jake walked out knowing one thing: Karen wasn't done yet. But neither was he. The next morning, Jake woke to a shocking sight. Karen's brand new boat, a white luxury cruiser, was tied directly to his dock. At first, he laughed. Then he realized the message: she was mocking him, flaunting her power in front of everyone. Jake took photos, documented everything, and walked straight to the county office. "I'd like to report unauthorized use of private property," he said calmly. Within hours, he had a written authorization, a legal notice allowing him to remove any vessel trespassing on his land. When Karen saw him attaching a tow line to her boat later that afternoon, she stormed outside. "You can't touch that. It's my property." Jake didn't even look up. "Exactly. And this is mine." As the crowd of neighbors gathered, whispers turned into laughter. Karen's face burned red, but Jake wasn't just taking the boat, he was making a point. He unhooked it, gently pushed it off the dock, and let it drift right into the HOA's restricted zone. Karen gasped. "You'll regret this, Jake." He smiled. "No, Karen. You will." By evening, Karen's Queen Act had crumbled. Her boat floated helplessly, tangled in reeds near the HOA office, and the County Lake Patrol had already been notified of an illegal docking. When they arrived, Jake stood back, silent, as Karen argued.
This is harassment. He pushed my boat.
The officer replied, "Ma'am, according to these records, that dock belongs entirely to Mr. Jacobs. You're trespassing."
The crowd murmured again.
Karen's eyes darted around, she was cornered. Jake didn't gloat. He simply said, "Maybe next time, you'll check the property line before enforcing rules." But the real twist came the next morning when the HOA sent a mass email. Karen had been temporarily suspended as president pending review. Jake finally breathed easy. He hadn't just defended his dock, he'd restored peace to the lake, or so he thought, because that evening, a new email landed in his inbox from Karen herself.
One line, "You haven't won yet." Karen wasn't backing down.
She started filing new complaints, noise violations, lawn citations, even accusing Jake of disturbing community harmony. But Jake was ready. He'd collected every HOA email, every text, every document proving her abuse of power, so when the official HOA board called for a disciplinary meeting, Jake came prepared. He presented a thick binder of evidence. Karen tried to interrupt, but the board silenced her. By the time Jake finished, the room was stunned. One board member said, "Karen, these are serious violations of homeowner rights."
Jake calmly added, "I just want peace."
But it starts with accountability. When the board voted to remove Karen permanently and revoke her privileges, she finally broke her silence, storming out without a word. Jake didn't celebrate. He just looked out toward the lake, feeling the wind against his face. The peace he'd fought for had finally returned.
Weeks later, the lake was calm again.
Neighbors waved when Jake passed. The dock, once a source of conflict, had become a symbol of quiet victory. One afternoon, Jake noticed something. Karen's boat, still impounded, sat at the county dock with a for sale sign. He smiled softly. Justice had been served, not through anger, but patience. He rebuilt his dock, added a new bench, and invited neighbors for coffee by the water.
Laughter replaced the arguments that once echoed there, and when someone asked, "Aren't you glad it's finally over?" Jake chuckled. It's never about winning.
It's about standing your ground with grace. The story of Jake and HOA Karen became local legend, a reminder that bullies may bark the loudest, but truth always floats to the surface. And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.